This video is from my series that walks you through how to build a career in film and television production. Taking notes for your informational. This is a 30,000-foot view of what we collect when we're taking notes. We want to list our dream job, yours, not theirs. You just want to have it in front of you in a place that you can remember it. You want to talk about their path. How did this person you're interviewing get into the job they have now? Your dream job or your target job? You're going to listen, and we're going to get story points. We're then going to size them up. Remember, this is a two-way conversation. You're not only interviewing them to hear their story, you're interviewing them to understand whether or not you can make a connection and whether or not you want to make a connection with this person. It may be available to you, it may not be available to you, but you are still a willing participant in this process, and it's not just a one-way street where you're asking a favor. And finally, we're going to recap. We're going to recap what that person said so they can get a sense and a feeling that you actually listened to what they were saying and that you understand what they're talking about. That is just as important as actually hearing their story. So download the notes for the interview file. It's laid out and structured in this exact same format. So at the top, you're going to write in your dream job, yours. Under it, you're basically going to write the I am statement. I am a. It's the sole purpose. So if you're asked, you have it handy. If you forget, you can glance at it, pick up whatever pieces you need to make sure that you have it available so you don't forget. You probably won't because we've talked about it a lot, but you never know in a tight situation what just empties out of your brain. This is a way to have that available for you in the short term. In the path, this is their path. You're just going to ask a simple question to get the process started. And it might go something like this. I admire the work that you've produced, insert show name or two here, and I'm interested to hear about how you got to where you are now. Your path when you first started in the industry, how did that go? And then you just shut the fuck up and you listen. And while you're listening, you're writing down the entry-level job. You're writing down the key points that they make as they're walking through their story. They might tell you who promoted them, the companies that they worked at, how did they move up. They may tell you that they did something brilliant that got them to move up, like they invented something or God knows what. It could be anything. And when they're talking in the next 15 or 20 minutes, you're going to put a star next to the things they say over and over. So if they say something once and they say it again, if they say it once and it's an important point and you feel like you want to write it down, write it down. If they say it again, you put a star next to it. If they say it again and you didn't write down the first time, you write it down and you put a star next to it, knowing that they said it twice in that conversation and it's an important thing that you want to pick up on. The next thing is, and this is more about you and your thought process while you're in this work, right? The question is, do you want to be a master of cause or do you want to be a bitch to effect? Simple question. The master of cause will write down what this person who you're listening to is talking about so that you can stay engaged to what they're doing, and you'll put a star and asterisk next to the important points they repeat over and over so that you can play it back to them when you recap. A bitch to effect just sits there and listens and does nothing to stay engaged and does nothing to size this person up and figure out whether or not they can be connected to you or you want to be connected to them, and then also doesn't write down anything so that when it comes time to recap, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're just saying, oh, thank you. Can you give me a couple of blah, blah, blahs? Secondly, in the size up section, this is a person who could be a potential sponsor for your career, or they might just be a connection to the next interview. You may not be interested in this person. They may be a complete asshole. They may be self-absorbed. Who knows? Or you may just think they're adorable and you think they're great and you want to be friends for the rest of your life. You know, it could be anything in between that. And by the way, friends for the rest of your life in Hollywood, pretty uncommon. I got to be honest with you. But nonetheless, it's a transient business. So long-term, lifelong relationships are pretty uncommon in this business. But nonetheless, people make them, they do happen, and there's no reason not to try to find them. But the point I'm making here is you're sizing this person up to figure out whether or not they're a potential sponsor for your career or if they're just a connection to move you to the next interview. You're deciding as much as they are if there's a potential connection for you. So think of it in those terms. It's not just a one-way connection. It is a it's a two-way street. And finally, recap. At about the 18-minute mark, you want to sum up. You want to say, we only have about 2 minutes left and I don't want to abuse the time you've provided. That's your chance to interrupt what they're saying, to wind this interview up, to wind it down, to get closed. You have two primary goals here. Number one, the first goal is you want to have them understand that you're listening. So you're going to summarize quickly what you just heard, the high points, some personal data points. Take those points you starred and that they repeat and play them back to them. Repeat them back to them so that they get the sense that you were listening, you understood, and you internalized it. There is a simple fact. People are mostly not listened to, and when they give advice and their advice isn't taken and executed, they may feel like you don't give a shit. So playing back to them is an important way of saying to that person, I'm listening to you and I'm on your side. The other thing that you're trying to get across, and one of your two primary goals here, is you want to get 2 to 3 referrals and get permission to drop the name for those referrals. That's important. The other thing is you want to tell them that you are, and this is where you're going to tell them, I am a blank looking for a job as X. And if you hear anybody who's looking to fill a slot like that, feel free to throw my name around. And then you're going to get their physical address and their email address like we talked about before. And you're going to email them a thank you. And you're going to attach to it your credits and your contact information. And then you're going to mail that same printed credits list along with a thank you note. You're going to say thank you at the end of your talk, no later than 20 minutes that you agreed to. Unless they say it's okay to go a little longer, then you go another 10 minutes for a total of 30. And that's it. The interview's over, you get up, you walk out. You've done 3 things. You've learned a lot about this person, you've made a connection, you've recapped what they said to you so that they feel like you're on their team. That's the important thing here. You want to make them feel like you're on their team. Number 2, you got 3 or 2 or at minimum 1 referral of someone you can talk to that you can drop the person you just interviewed. You can drop their name when you make the connection to that person to be able to do an informational for them. And you've told them what it is you want to do, your primary job that you're currently out looking for, what you ultimately want to do, and that you're out looking for work. And if anyone's out looking for that job, looking for a referral from them for a job, that they can throw your name in the hat and send your credits around wherever, whenever.